is a picture when 328 was first finished. You can see the tender is not lettered, so it was very early on, and people are gathered around very excited. There's the Dan Patch in White Bear with the 1102, and here's our first run up in New Brighton, and here's a run in Lilydale, and here's working at Como Shops, which for 2 years was unheated, so you know, and there'll be another shot of that. And here's a run, Johnny Winters at the throttle. We went to Hudson, Wisconsin. We did that for a number of years. This is coming back from Hudson, as well as this. And you see that Rock Island car? That's me. Okay. 60 pounds later. That's me running the 328. And here it is at Stillwater. And we've got some, here we are headed out to Stillwater getting orders hooped up, which was kind of exciting. And this is in St. Louis Park, headed to the Renaissance Festival. And there's Ken Snyder, a good friend, and he and Orville Rickler were firing that day. This is coming back from Stillwater. These are Jeff Terry pictures up at Osceola, where 328 ran. And Jeff's a formidable photographer. He took quite a lot of pictures. And here's a triple header that ran up there, which was pretty exciting. I have to tell you, with STEAM, and that's what I'm kind of here to advocate, I've been told that you want to focus on revenue equipment for Osceola, which is great, and that should be a priority. But eventually, I hope you keep STEAM in mind. These are just pictures following now of stuff around the Twin Cities, not all that important. Here's a night shot we did out here, and so on. But one of the things I want to say is I'm a new member, been here for a couple months. Scott Heydrich brought me back in here. And I went out and I ran excursions with Steve Bushinsky in the NRHS and so on for many years. But I've come back for a couple reasons, not the least of which is the Grudy Palace. I was very excited to hear that. This is the first time I've heard it. And Mara made a very interesting statement. She said the Grudy Palace brought smiles to people's faces. It was art that brought smiles to people's faces. He was always happy. He had a conductor uniform he wore. We used this car maybe 6 or 7 times. He was always on talking to people, and he was just a pleasure to be around. So, and it's wonderful to see this coming back. Also, none of this would be here without him. It would not be here as a building, but it would not be here as it is today without all of you. And I'm very impressed with the amount of people and the work that's been done here. We first started having board meetings. There were 8 of us total. The STEAM operation, the rest were streetcar people, you know that, right? George Isaacs was working on the 265 when I first joined the museum. And there were very few of us working on the steam engine. But we went from about 65 members in the museum to 800 at the first running of 328. That's just a thought you'd mentioned, trying to get people to come to the museum. STEAM brings people back. Now I know, as I've said, it's got to be a back issue right now. You've got to concentrate on revenue equipment, and hopefully we'll all concentrate on one thing at a time and get it done. Get a little editorial there. I first worked on the 2156 when we brought it here. I wrote a letter to the St. Paul mayor and to the Como Park Neighborhood Association 44 years ago, saying it would be done shortly. Didn't quite happen, but what stalled out the 2156 and the STEAM program was getting him to run. 328 ran really well, did a great job, served its purpose. It's interesting to know what STEAM has brought, and the STEAM program, like I say, stalls. The restoration of 328 cosmetically is great. It's good for people to see it. I really was happy to see that. And it takes so many people to do that. But 2156, I'd like to see it cosmetically restored, and hopefully somebody will come on board with that. People say they want to run it. Okay, maybe along the way, but in the meantime, it can be fired up with the cylinders blanked off, towed outside, have the 150 pounds of pressure or whatever, and have that run the dynamo and the blower, if people could see it alive. That would be my wish, but that's something you should consider. But you can see, by the way, that previous picture, I wish I could go back, with a picture of Steve Sandberg when he was about 8. Anyhow, and speaking of sandbergs, I need to say that as well. The 328 was a project, when I talk about doing the 2056, the 328 was a project that took 5 years and a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. I was a boiler inspector, there was a welder that was an ASME certified welder, professional engineers. I mean, we had a lot of people working on it that knew what they were doing. And it still took 5 years, and it still stalled out 4 or 5 times. There were 6 months where it wasn't being worked on at all. Then Frank Sandberg came in, and he got, I think it was $13,000 from Margaret Rivers Foundation, something like that. He got a design for the weld, to weld up the cab. He got the whole thing moving. And I got a special spot in my heart for Frank and Judy Sandberg. They were wonderful people. Frank Bifold and Dave Ruschenberg and other people worked on it as well. But like I say, it took a huge effort. It takes somebody dedicated. Hopefully somebody will step up and look into the STEAM program. But I know you gotta look at the revenue equipment that goes out to Osceola. And Osceola is a great operation. I'm so happy to see that. We longed for a long time to see that kind of thing happen. I longed for a heated shops. I mean, you know, this is wonderful. I should also say that I'm back for a couple of reasons. One is that your leadership now is people that are friendly, people that have a mission fixed in their mind as to what MTM means. They're going to stick with it. So I'm very happy with your new leadership. That's the reason I'm really back. And it's good that I'll be meeting a number of you. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I could go into the history of the 328 and its ups and downs. And I will tell you, you know, even the organization, even MTM had its ups and downs. But it has lasted. It's lasted because of people like Art Pugh and other people that have really been dedicated towards it and remembered the mission. And that's the current leadership we have now, I think, that people are focused on that mission. So that's really good. But it had its ups and downs. We had a board meeting at a restaurant once. There were 8 of us at a table, and the arguing was so strong, not by me. People were pounding on the table, and I turned to the lady in a booth behind us at the restaurant and apologized. And I said, you know, I'm really sorry for this. And she said, no, this is better than cabaret. This is fabulous. I'm really enjoying it. So we went through ups and downs, and that's what organizations do. It also is hard to keep focused on something, getting it done. That's why things take so long. People get discouraged and so on. But I think with the current leadership, I think you've got a great step forward. And again, I'm so happy to see the Gritty Palace. We ran that a lot. I have very fond memories of Art on the back porch there and going through many different places. So it was really good. Another thing too I'd like to mention before closing is that there are prospective board members here. And I hope you keep in mind that you have to establish upper level contacts. We had, in the old days, we had the legal counsel for Sioux Line, Barney Olson. We had the president of BNSF, or BN, Tom Lamphere, and we had Ed Burkhart, president of Northwestern. We had them keyed into us, and they believed in what we were doing. And part of their belief was because of good leadership, which you have now. Once you have that good leadership, these people will start talking to you, and I hope the current board or the new board of directors will keep that in mind. Duluth, Lake Superior Museum of Transportation is another really strong friend. We had wonderful relations with them, Ken Bueller especially, but all the guys that work there, everybody. And we traded stuff back and forth with them all the time. So I think, again, not to belabor it, but the current leadership, I think, is poised to really establish those relationships positively with all the organizations. That's it. Isn't that great? It was cold. See that picture? It's cold. Just so you know, I work cold. And there you can see the 1296, 1297, and there's see the Rock Island car in that picture? No windows. That's an FRA, there's an FRA violation, but we took the windows out and we didn't get them back in time. Nobody said anything. It was the greatest rail fan car you ever saw. When we pulled out of this picture right here, we got our orders, headed out, got up to 40 miles an hour, and about a dozen hats flew out the window. We were cooking. Speaking of cooking, Steve Sandberg, I fired for Steve in the 328 on the Stillwater line, going down to Stillwater. you decided you could go 40 miles an hour. And trying to get the coal into the firebox on that bumpy road was a little difficult, but it was always a joy, Steve. So, anybody have any questions about steam or anything like that?
It was downhill going down there too also.
It was fun. It was interesting. But 328 really brought the people in. Volunteer, not just the volunteers, but the public. I mean, we went to 800 members just after that. So, and they were interested people. And people came in, for instance, the son of a sign painter just showed up. He painted the Northern Pacific on the tender, which, by the way, is just a little crooked. Nobody knows that. It's an inch off because it was sitting, I don't know, it was sitting funny. And he measured it up from the ground. It wasn't really right. Nobody knows that. But anyhow, any other questions? Any questions people have about steam? All right. Well, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the pictures of the local area.